Okay, I think, yeah, good evening, ladies and gents. It's great. We've got people from wide and far connecting today. I know that we've got people from Pretoria, we've got from Cape Town, we've got some from Bloemfontein. We actually have somebody from Orania also joining us tonight from PE, the Gamtoos area. So yeah, welcome to everybody. I think I'm going to start sharing my screen. Okay, and just ask you guys if you can see the screen.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ladies and gents, yeah, thank you so much for your time tonight to quickly discuss very interesting and important, urgent actually stuff. I think we've learned from the past that going and doing full presentations of all the aspects of security becomes cumbersome and people feel overwhelmed. So the idea is that that we break the whole concept of community security into smaller bite-sized chunks, if we can so call it, so that these concepts can be fully understood and digested and implemented, and it needs to be frequently rehearsed. If I can just ask everybody just to mute you, because there might be some feedback coming from your side until such time as you would like to say something. So if I can just ask everybody to mute yourself. Okay, so I think the second thing that I want to mention is that we are recording these sessions, and the idea would be to actually have a series of sessions going forward, so that, as I mentioned, that we've got smaller chunk size stuff that we can actually go and implement, because that is what is important. I think what is important also is that we should not underestimate our opponent. They don't play by the rule book, and they don't care about you, your family, your possessions, and very often, as you all know, that these attacks, if it happens, usually go together with serious torture and murder in certain, and also people that actually get away with their lives. I mean, are actually scarred for the rest of their lives psychologically as well. So if we can look at what then is the purpose of community security, what we're going to do tonight is we're just going to quickly talk about the background of because there are many new people that don't know what it's all about. Just quickly scan through that, and then my presentation will be about 15 minutes, and then we're actually going to hand over to an industry expert as far as preventative measures, because that is what we're actually going to talk about tonight. So if we say this, what is the purpose of community security? Now, if I can, in short, say, security starts at home, where sometimes little things can save your life and that of your family. Just being observant and adhering to certain very basic rules and principles can actually protect your family from harm. And it will also discourage criminal activity. And that is a whole idea of community security. We all know what happened in KwaZulu-Natal and in Gauteng. It's not long ago. And we also know how fast it happened. And what I would say is that we can actually count ourselves very fortunate that we are, allowed this time to prepare for incidents like that. So if we talk about the aim of community security, is basically to upgrade the general alertness and the preparedness and the ability of us as law-abiding citizens. But what's important is that we can actively respond to acts of criminality, and by that disallow or prevent or restrict the freedom of movement of criminals within the law-abiding and our peaceful, compliant communities. So if we quickly look at the aim of community security. Now, if criminals know that there are measures in place making it difficult for them not to be detected and also apprehended at the end of the day, they will go somewhere else where such preventative and early detection measures are not in place. It is important to be able to apprehend the perpetrators once they've done it. Well, look, first thing is we try to make sure that we prevent and discourage. But in the event of them actually being successful, it is as important that we are able to apprehend the perpetrators, as that will also discourage repeating attacks. When perpetrators escape undetected, mark my word, they will hit again. And we've seen this time and time again. So how do we, or let me say, one of the aims is basically to prevent or discourage criminal incidents. The second thing is basically to contain the area during criminal incidents. So the reason for that is once there is an attack, how can we actually contain that area to make sure that we can apprehend the perpetrators, make sure that they don't flee to other or escape to other areas, and also be able to attend to the victims in the shortest space of time. But also, if it is also important to basically apprehend the criminals during or shortly after a criminal incident has taken place. But what is also very important, and this we've learned many lessons in our area, and that is to render support to the affected victims after the criminal incident in the what we call community care. If I can take you back, the people from East London, last year when we had those fires where a couple of houses, I think it was in the Beacon Bay area, actually burned down. Those people were stuck after that, awestruck. So what we decided is that we bring in a community care program where there is aftercare for these people to see how can we get them to normality ASAP. Let's say, for instance, there was a fire like that. Do we have a plan in place where, for instance, we have got guest houses in the area, bed and breakfast, where we can take the families, affected families, put them up and make sure that at least that evening or 2 nights or a week, whatever it takes to have them comforted until such time as their life can fall into place again. We had incidents close to the Homehill area where 2 elderly couples, or it was an elderly lady and her daughter, was brutally attacked during the day. The daughter was stabbed repeatedly, and the husband, 70 years old, came back after we phoned him. Fortunately, we had our proto teams on the scene within 10 minutes. But then this old man was sitting there, first of all, in shock. His daughter and his wife were taken to hospital. He sat on his own, and the place was absolutely riddled with blood. So we brought in our community care program. First of all, they did trauma counseling immediately with him and cleaned the area. So this is the community care that we're talking about, taking it that step further. But I think some of you people that don't know who we are might ask, so what are you guys? And I think perhaps it would be easier for us to say what we are not. But I think it is important to understand that we are not a paramilitary organization, of which there are many, and people flee from them with good reason. We are not a political grouping, and we refrain from being politicized for the same reason. And thirdly, we are not a right-wing vigilante group. So then, what are we and what do we do? There are a couple of dedicated men willingly putting their lives on the line by things like patrolling every night in areas, reacting to call-outs. It is also very important to understand that these people need to do training to stay sharp. And training is a vital part in what we do. They do this training in their own time to be able to effectively and efficiently be at the time of impact as soon as possible to either apprehend or to detain or to help the victims. Now, what is also important here is to understand it goes very closely related to the fact that community security is very much based on one of the biggest pillars and foundations of it is actually the relationship between households in a community, whether it's rural or urban. And to understand what is expected of us during an attack. I think for the people in East London, the incident, the tragic incident that happened with Daryl Richter is still very vivid in our minds. But I might say that he didn't die in vain because we have learned so much from that incident. But what we've also learned there is that contaminating the crime scene does not help to build the relationship with SAPS, who we need to work very closely with. And neither does it help us to apprehend the perpetrators. And I think many a time, it is because of a lack of knowledge of what is expected of people. Remember, in a case like this, farmers come, they heard of the situation, they are highly upset, they're emotional, they're aggressive, they're angry, and one can understand it. And they go and they trample that whole crime scene. Two of the perpetrators might have escaped, and there's no way that the dog unit can apprehend that guy. So people go undetained, which we don't want. So it's important that people understand, and this is sections that will come later on, not tonight, in the weeks to come. But I think we are a dedicated group of volunteers. And specifically, if we talk about the HQ in coordinating the local and the regional security capabilities, it would not be in our best interest to go and see how we can reinvent the wheel. We were very fortunate in our areas that they are very capable private institutions that has already got the ability. All they needed was somebody that can actually direct, coordinate the things that would have taken their eye off the ball of being effective. So the purpose for us is also to build and to enhance community and private capabilities. And through that, to basically discourage criminal freedom of movement. Because if the criminals see that this is a difficult place or that there is quick reaction, that will deter them from actually going ahead with any attacks. Now, again, as I mentioned, security starts at home, and the foundation of the community security is community involvement. Also, to understand that we cooperate very closely with SAPS. There's many things that as civilians we can't do, we're not allowed to do. But with good cooperation and also a good relationship with SAPS, they truly understand that we are their eyes and their ears. And many a time, they can, and they understand also that they cannot be at the point of impact in a short pace of time. We try with our proto teams, who I'm going to talk about a little bit later, to be at the point of impact within 10 minutes, which SAPS can't do. And that means then that we need to do certain aspects, like for instance, we need to go and secure a crime scene until such time as we can hand over to SAPS. We need to do roadblocks to contain the perpetrators until such time as SAPS come. If we do not have that relationship with them, they will never allow us to do that. So that brings us back to the importance of disciplined action. And then lastly, all our activities are underpinned by the South African law and the Constitution. So that just in short, what we are. Now, quickly to talk, and many of the people hasn't seen the organogram, and I'm just quickly going through that. But just to show that in the middle, you've got the CSU, which is HQ, and this is where all the coordinating and coordination is taking place from. So on the left-hand side, you'll see all the organizations that we deal with. Just to let you know that we've got a meeting, and we've got Lizelle is also one of our members here. We have got a meeting with the hierarchy of SAPS and other role players, Business Against Crime, private security organizations on Friday, to basically cement this type of relationships. But as you can see also that on the right-hand side, that there are other role players as far as private security institutions as well. Currently, what we've done, we've got a rural security sectors, and we've got 3 on the left-hand side. Then we've got urban security sectors. And just to let you know that we would like to extend that to other areas as well. That will come. But as far as the operational support, and I think that is what is very important for you to know, is that about 3-4 weeks ago, we put this organization to the test. We ran a fully integrated exercise that we called Exercise Eagle Eye, where we simulated the farm attack in the Homehill area. Now, the sketch that we had is that there was an attack on a farm by 7 men armed with handguns, with pangas and crowbars. The farmer and 2 of the suspects were wounded. 2 suspects escaped by a vehicle, and the rest on foot. So with this sketch, it actually helped us to actually put this whole team to the test. And we were then able to actually deploy, first of all, the security unit. We deployed our proto teams, and just to talk about the proto teams quickly, and that is teams that consist out of 2 to 4 men. We've got 5 teams like that, fully trained at this stage, who can be at the point of impact within 10 minutes. So we could deploy them. We deployed SAPS. We had air support. We had red alert armed response. We had red alert ER. The local community put out stopper groups. We had OPs, observation posts, from where we could monitor the escapees, and we could test our comms as well. We also deployed our community care after that. And I think the reason why we did was, and it worked 100% for us, is to basically address and to iron out mistakes and procedures that didn't work. Now, remembering that this exercise was done during the daytime, and we set the scene. This will be done again at nighttime. Things totally look different at night. And then it will be done unannounced, 3 o'clock in the morning, when these things happen. And so we will again put the things to the test. But I think what was also very positive from the exercise was that there was a drastic drop in criminal activity in the Home Hill area after that. So that's just to show you the air support and communications and technology. Everything is basically in place for us to actually go and replicate in any of the other areas. So, right, what is our area of responsibility? And this is basically, for now, we are focusing only on the Buffalo City Metro and only the areas as discussed in the previous slide. However, we need to expand to the other areas. And for that, we need dedicated leadership to, under the guidance of the CSU, basically implement these already tried and tested structures and abilities. Now, the topics that we will cover in the weeks to come will be, we will start off with threats against farms, residents, and their families. We will look at what are the warning signs of house attacks. We will look at the considerations regarding criminal intent and the motivation for attacks. Because if we get all this information, it will actually help us to be proactive. What are the common tendencies of attacks? When and how do they happen? And this is very interesting to see that sometimes these attacks happen at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night, when people are relaxed sitting in front of the TV and their alarm systems aren't activated. But I just recently today, earlier today, received the stats for September, and there were 16 farm attacks, three murders in this period. And some of the attacks happened actually during the day. So it would be better to have preventative measures to implement at home. And that is what we're going to discuss tonight quickly. And then guidelines for the implementation of a security plan at home that needs to be done with each household. And emergency actions by families during an attack. It is important that families understand that when they attack, what information needs to be given through, what do they need to do, go to the safe room, how do they, because the big thing here is to try and stay safe for the 10 minutes that it will take a proto team or reaction unit to get there to assist. So we will go through that and explaining what are the actions that families need to take. Emergency actions by families after the attack, as important. And many people don't know, what does the law say as far as self-defense is concerned? And at this stage, as a citizen of this country, you are allowed to protect your family and your loved ones. So I'm going to hand over quickly to Jaco Notnagel to talk quickly about the presentative measures. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then at the end I will just sum up again. Just stop sharing mine. Okay, Jaco, then it's over to you. Jaco is still there?
Dankie Kobus, sorry, my
Okay.
mic was muted off.
Okay, okay.
Okay, good evening all. As Kobus mentioned, my name is Jaco Notnaffel and I'm from Red Alert Security. I have been part of the security industry for the last 12 years now. Some of you in the Homehill area might know me from my previous presentation. Some of you might know me being part of the involvement of the crime in the area. I've also been part of the setup where they had that practice run and it went quite smoothly. And some of you might also know me from being at your houses and doing security measures at your homes. Today's little presentation that I'm going to explain to you guys is going to be very basic little tips of what you can try and do just to prevent situations of happening at your house and just making you less of a target for the criminals. I'm also going to start a little slideshow and I'm going to just chat to you guys about it as we go along. And I hope it's going to be useful and that it will be practiced. Just give me a second. Okay, so today is just going to be basic security tips. Us as Red Alert, these are just a few little things that we provide as a service provider. We have alarm monitoring and armed response. We have alarm systems, outdoor beams detection, electric fencing, as well as CCTV cameras, and also remote surveillance. So with the remote surveillance is something that I still need to sit down and maybe we can chat about it in the near future, is perhaps installing some cameras on poles at the entrance areas of the Homehill area, and that there's a certain amount of people that might have access to these cameras where in an event where we can actually set it up that at a certain time, maybe at night, let's just say, for example, between 12 and 5 o'clock in the mornings, if there's any sort of cars traveling in that area, that can notify certain people on this group or whoever has access to these cameras, and then they can decide whether it's a car that should be in that area or shouldn't be. I think there's only 3 entrances at the Homehill area. So you're looking at maybe putting up 3 different poles, and we can perhaps put it on solar panel, or if there's a farm nearby, we can perhaps connect it to there for power, which is obviously a lot more secure. It's just something that we can maybe look at in the future that can definitely help you guys. We offer fire detection, our mobile panic app, and we also have our emergency ambulance services that you get some perks of if you are a customer of Red Alert. Basic security tips for you and your family at home to try and prevent crime. I will give an opportunity at the end of the presentations. If anyone has any questions, I'm more than willing to answer to the best of my abilities. It's just going to be 10 basic tips. I'm not going to go too deeply into it. It's just basic little measures for you guys to start practicing at home, and then, yeah, we'll take it from there. Have a plan of action, as Kobus mentioned. Something so simple yet extremely important is to have a plan of action when an incident occurs at home. So as Kobus mentioned, often when something does happen at home, people tend to panic. They don't know what to do. They don't know who to phone. They don't know where to go into the house. And it's understandable. It's a stressful situation. So you're just not sure what to do at that present time. So all the family members in the house needs to understand the importance of this when in danger or in a panic situation. The following should be considered. Maybe moving your family into a safety room, behind a locked gate somewhere in the house. Maybe try and put a gate just besides, just other side the bedroom areas, so that at least when you get to the passage area, you can close yourself off behind a locked gate, or even in the basement if possible. Keep emergency numbers and perhaps a spare phone in the safe room. So also make sure that when incident occurs, that you know that there's a plan of action of who to contact first, whether it's a neighbor, whether it's a security company, whether it's the SAPs. It's always best to try and contact your security provider or your close nearby neighbor to try and assist you in a situation. This also needs to be rehearsed by families and understood by everyone in the household. I know it's easy mentioning this, and it's not always as easy to try this at home, but it is something that you guys should consider, having your families involved, sitting them down, telling them, okay, so when this happens, when there's someone comes into our yard, when there's an incident, this is what we do, and rehearse that and practice it, and do like you guys did with your other practice. Do it maybe once a month, twice a month, practice it and make sure that everyone understands what to do in case of an emergency. Lock all windows and doors. Something very simple, but very important. Ensure that all windows and doors have secure locks on them. Often you have a little window that doesn't close properly or a door that doesn't have a secure lock on it. Check those, get them sorted, make sure all your windows close properly, all your doors can lock, put an extra lock on if you have to. Get into a habit of locking all your doors and windows at a certain time in the evening or even in the morning before you leave for work. You could also double check this in the morning or in the evening before you go to bed. I know myself, every night at about 8 o'clock, I lock the doors. 10 o'clock when I go to bed, I ensure the doors are locked. I go and double check it. Very, very important. Eliminate criminals' hiding spots. So I know on farms, this can be a little bit tricky because there's a lot of trees and a lot of bushes around. But if you can, just try and reduce or remove any foliage or bushes in your yard, especially those close to windows. Often you have trees or bushes in your yard, and it makes it very easy for the criminals to hide behind these trees or bushes. We have a lot of instances where the alarm system will go off, especially if you have beams. These guys will then trigger these beams. They'll go and hide behind bushes. Our reaction officers will get onto site. They'll have a look around and everything seems clear. When reaction leaves, that's when the guys break in, because these guys find very good hiding spots in the yard. So just try and remove as much as possible. Keep your valuables hidden away. Do not leave any valuables lying around in your yard or visible from any window. Don't leave bicycles lying outside, tools, ladders. We've had a lot of instances where people leave ladders inside of the yard, and a lot of people have alarm systems downstairs and not upstairs. And what these guys do, they'll take your own ladder in your own yard and then get through to your top windows and still manage to break in and maybe perhaps bypass the alarm system and not even activate the alarm. So it's also very important to not leave tools. Don't leave things that they could use you as a target. So try and hide all these things away. This also attracts criminals to your premises and makes you an easy target. Criminals, as you guys know, you'll always see guys driving around, walking around. They scope out targets before the time, and they pick the houses where they feel is more valuable things for them to actually try and get away with. As a result, please try and keep your valuables hidden away. Have a well-lit house. This should be automatically done on farms, but I've been to good couple of farms now in the past few weeks, and a lot of them are actually telling me, well, they couldn't see the criminals outside because there was no lights outside. Install security lights on the outside of your house to make sure it's well lit. Perhaps having a light on all night. Consider investing in motion sensor lights that illuminate the yard when they detect movement. You can get them at game, you can get them at all sorts of places. So instead of having a light running all night, you can have those ones that's also got a built-in little sensor into them that if someone walks around in your yard, it will activate the light, come on. These lights, when they catch an intruder off guard, it will potentially scare them off or make them run away. No criminal wants to feel like they're on display when trying to break in. they try and go for the dark places. Act cautiously when entering, leaving your property. When leaving or entering your property, make sure to have a good look around you before opening or closing your gate. Also very, very important, especially at night time. These guys like entering into your gates, especially if you have high walls or all sorts of things. Make sure that you just look around, make sure it's safe before you enter, before you leave in the mornings. Make sure that you've looked around, make sure that everything is clear around you. Should you notice a car will not feel safe, or maybe someone standing close to your farm, perhaps contact your neighbor or your security company to meet you on site to enter your premises together. I know Red Alert has been very involved with the Home Hill area, so I know whether you're a client, whether you're not a client, if you don't feel safe, you contact our office and we're more than willing to come and assist you and drive with you into your premises to make sure that you're safe. Install a security alarm system. Installing an alarm system with a 24-hour armed response is one of the most effective ways to prevent intruders from breaking in. Having panic buttons installed in strategic places is vital in case of an emergency. So at the very present moment, most of the times we install panic buttons in the main bedrooms next to your bed, or in the kids' rooms next to the bed. So in case of an emergency and you hear anything at night time, at least you've got a panic button to press. We also install them in passages, kitchens, lounges, anywhere you want to. Back in the day, they used to install it next to the doors, which didn't make much sense. Like I always tell my clients, it's always important that when you're sitting in the lounge and you see someone jumping over your yard, the first thing you need to do is your plan of action and run to your safe room. And on your way to your safe room, you must ensure to have a panic button nearby that you can press before running into your safe room, perhaps even installing one in your safe room. But if you can have one installed before you even get to your safe room, the better it will be. It is very important to use your alarm system at all times and not only during the day when no one is home. It is strongly recommended that it is armed at certain times in the evening or during the day. For example, when you're taking a nap, not just a nap, but at any given time. If you get home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and you guys are done being outside, arm your alarm system. Like Bubba said, a lot of times it happens during the day when you're watching TV. We've had so many instances where people are on the lounge watching TV and they're breaking through the main bedroom and they get to all the jewelry or the safes or whatever the case is. So if you have an alarm system, try and arm it as much as you possibly can. Get into the habit of arming it. I know it's maybe an inconvenience at the beginning, but the more regularly you do it, the more you'll get into it. With our alarm systems that we have certain functions on the alarm systems. We can arm in stay mode, which means you can stay inside of your house. You can arm just your doors. If you have external detection, you can arm the outside. So it's always nice to be able to arm when you are at home. It'll make you feel safer. It'll make your kids feel safer. You can perhaps still leave the doors open, but at least you know the outside is armed. Also at nighttime, very, very important. It's something that it's also just a habit that you need to try and get into. I know a lot of people don't want to arm because they say they walk around in the house, but get used to arming your alarm system, disarming it when you go to the kitchen or if you want to walk around, and then arming it up again when you go to bed. There's a very big variety in alarm systems and the kind of things that we sell. So that's obviously something that it will be better to evaluate when I come to the premises.
Jaco, can I just ask that Louis Fourie has got a hand raised there? Have you got a question there, Louis? You are just muted, Louis.
Thank you very much. I think it's a finger error. Sorry about that.
Okay, sorry, Jaco, I thought that he's got a question.
Okay, no problem. Installing perimeter detection is extremely important because it notifies you when someone is entering or getting closer to your home. So with beams, some of them are pricey. You get cheaper ones that you can install into your premises, but it is very, very vital to have. This will help detect the people, the intruders before entering to your house, and it will also notify yourself when at home when someone is trying to get close by. If you don't like arming your alarm system during the day and it's something you don't intend to do. We get little buzzers that we can even install on your external equipment, so that if someone walks around in your yard outside, it can actually trigger a little buzzer on the inside, just notifying you that someone is walking around outside. Also, like mentioned in the previous slideshow, it is vital to arm your external alarm detection when you're at home to ensure that you and your family are safe inside of the house. This also needs to be done when going to sleep at night. There is also a huge variety of different kind of beams, detectors, all sorts of things that you can use at the house. And this is obviously also better to evaluate when visiting the premises. Installing an electric fence. Installing an electric fence on your boundary wall is a great measure of security, as this is the very first entry point for criminals. However, a lot of times people get private guys to install electric fences for them, and they don't seem to work to the full potential. These criminals are very, very smart. We have a lot of fences installed at certain places, and a lot of times where there's private guys that install the electric fence, these guys manage to cut it, or they manage to do something to those. Like Cobus mentioned earlier, these guys come very prepared. They know what they're doing. So when they cut these fences at certain places, it doesn't activate the fence. It's not connected to an alarm system, so they can sometimes bypass these electric fences. Often people assume that when an electric fence shocks, or the harder it shocks, that is your defense of having an electric fence, and that's definitely not the case. These guys have managed to find ways to get over an electric fence by putting a blanket over it. They use little tree sticks to open it up. So it's very, very important to have it connected to an alarm system. So as long as they try and get over, it'll still trigger an alarm, which will then notify us or notify you, and you can notify your neighbor. And it just helps you before they can even get into your premise. So electric fence is always very nice to have. Invest in home security cameras. Home security cameras are also a great option to add another layer of home protection. Security cameras can alert you when there's movement in your yard and help you to prepare yourself for potential break-in. Obviously, with technology, you get better quality cameras. You get cameras that does vehicle detection, that does human detection. So with the newer cameras that you get, you can actually set it up that it picks up humans. So when someone has to walk into your yard, it'll detect that human, and it'll send you a little video clip or a little notification and inform you that someone has walked inside of your premises. Unfortunately, offsite cameras is for household at the moment is just a little bit scarce, because it is a very sensitive little camera, so it can activate quite often. So it is very useful to have it on your phone so you can see it at all times. This can also help you feed information to your neighbors or the security company perhaps responding to your house, that if someone is in your yard, you can perhaps inform the armed response, where do you think they're hiding, or you can see them over there, or you can inform your neighbor not to come into this gate because the guys are close to that gate. So it helps you also to see what's happening on the outside of your house. Like I said, it is always recommended to install good quality cameras, as this can assist the police with identifying the suspects and also be used for evidence in a case of prosecution on an arrest. I thank you guys for your time. If you guys have any questions, or if you'd ever like me to come and see you, can ask Cobus for my contact details, or you can contact the office and you can also get through to me directly like that. If there's any questions, I'm now free to answer anything that you guys would like to ask. Are we good?
Okay, so I just thank you, Jaco. No, I think that was awesome. I think if I can just two things I would like to add to that, and that is that what I in this one, sorry. Okay, I think what is important is with regards to pre-detection or early detection, it's always better. And I believe that if you've got 30 seconds, knowledge or pre-warning before attacks happens, your chances of walking away alive is 90% better, because as Jaco said, most of the time, if people are early detected, they run away. The second thing with regards to cameras, and I think perhaps one would suggest that or think that is expensive stuff to do, and yes, later down the line, but at the end of the day is mostly people get attacked if they are lured outside their house. The cameras give you that ability to actually stay in your house, make sure that you can raise alert or an alarm, and not, go out to be attacked or to open and to leave your family unattended for. But ladies and gentlemen, yes, I think that brings us to the end of tonight. And just to again say that I don't know if you guys can see this screen of mine. I don't know why I can't open it in what mode. Oh, there it goes now. There it is now. What we will do next week is we will cover threats against farm and residents and families. Then the week after that, we will do what are the warning signs of house attacks, considerations regarding criminal intent, why and when do they attack, common tendencies of attacks, preventative measures. We'll go a step further than what Jaco did today. We'll do the guidelines for the implementation of a security plan. As Jaco said, the importance of doing that security plan with your family and rehearsing it. They say that if you rehearse something for 21 days, it actually becomes a tendency. And to understand that normally these things happen 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, when everybody, is sleepy, you are shocked. And the only way that you will be able to act and react in the right manner is if you have trained and rehearsed what needs to be done. It's important that everybody in your house, who takes the keys, who knows where the weapons are, who takes the weapons and the water and the things to the safe room. Many things, but we will get there. Then also emergency actions by families during an attack. It's important that the people understand what is expected of them when our proto teams approach. The last thing that we want is that one of our proto team members gets shot by the farmer or the other way around. So there are certain rules and regulations that need to be done, and that we will go through in depth. And then also the emergency actions of families after the attack. And then we will lastly do what does the law say? I think it's so important. So I think what I'm giving you here is maybe about a 10-week cycle that we're going to do. And I really trust that you found this meeting helpful. You all have my email address. If there are any questions that you've got, please send me the questions, and we will make available also this presentation. I have recorded it for further reference to you guys. And I don't know if there are any questions before we close down. Any questions? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Have a lovely evening. Stay safe, and we'll chat soon. God bless.